What would you like to do? How do you feel?
I'm fine with anything.
Would it break the ice better to do the song in the beginning or not?
I think I'd like to start with a couple of questions.
Okay,
Okay,
cool.
fantastic. You just let us know.
Might be a little bit better to
Yeah.
ease into it.
Absolutely.
Isabel, what are you most proud of throughout your journey to get here?
Oof, I'd probably say just like the waves of things going wrong that has happened consistently throughout my life. And the fact that despite the random waves of things going wrong, like from like a not so great parent who is now estranged, to like clinical depression, to like other family issues, to COVID happening, there have just been kind of just ongoing things that have been kind of like taking over my life for maybe like a few months to a few years at a time. And then despite that, I'm obviously still standing here today and moderately successful, I hope. And I just said that's pretty cool. Like many people do like have things to deal with, but I'm one of the people who did manage to come out of it as I am. Yeah.
Awesome.
And despite all of those things, you still manage to, to excel in just about everything you do,
Thank you.
academically, as well as things that are sort of, I guess, not outside of school exactly, but other things. Like, I'd love for you to tell everybody about some of the things you're involved in, like some of the mentoring that you've done and the tutoring and stuff like that.
Of course. So last year I did a lot of work with tutoring, like as you know, as I hope you know, Polaris is a K-12 school. So last year, for like an hour to 2 hours every day, I would go down to the elementary wing and would actually TA for my old 4th and 5th grade teacher, and I would help out with the students, help them learn things, and kind of give a very good, strong example for those students. And from there, I also started working with a lot of tutoring. I've been kind of trying to coax like a tutoring business kind of into motion. However, that's not, with school and everything going on, I've been putting that on the back burner. But I have been doing a lot of tutoring. I also had the wonderful opportunity to go to France like a month or 2 months ago, a little bit ago, in France, in March. And Shauna, you were there.
I flew the plane, I got us all there.
And so that was wonderful as well, and I actually earned the money for that a lot from a summer job that I got at a summer camp for students 8 to 13. I also sometimes went down to the preschool wing, helped out with that, and I actually took what I'd learned from the TAing in the elementary to actually help me pay for France, and I earned a lot of my money through that. And so I've also been involved with house band at my school. Obviously I do music. Let's see. I did the Colorado Coalition when I was in 8th grade, where I became a certified scuba diver. And basically I've just kind of been doing a little bit of everything, and which basically, like, as it pleases me, I'm like, hey, this is terrifying. I'm gonna do it anyway, because maybe I get to see a cool fish.
I love it.
You know?
Oh, so great.
So I've been kind of living my life like that and being like, oh, I get a debilitating fear of water, I'm gonna ignore that. And anyway, now I'm a licensed scuba diver. And that's just kind of how I try to lead my life.
You were a TA for Alicia, was it?
Yes, Alicia Ernest.
Just a little bit of feedback.
Mhm.
I'm neighbors with Alicia, and our kids are like BFFs. And there's probably 3 or 4 times where she pulled me aside and just told me what an amazing job you were doing.
Thank you.
So you're doing amazing. You're a very intelligent person, and so I hope you're starting to feel a little more comfortable now.
Yeah.
And you well, but I just want to assure you that it's going to be okay, and we're all just here to like recognize and celebrate your strengths.
Okay, thank you.
You're not gonna die till later.
Thank you.
Much later.
Well, here's to hope.
It's not over yet, right?
Izzy, I have a question
Oh,
for you.
yeah.
So you found a lot of success. So not only in just what you shared, but in your presentation, you talk about ways that you found success. So look ahead 1 to 2 years. what would have to be true for you to feel successful in these next 2 years as you leave Polaris?
So next year I'm actually doing the Ascent program, basically a free year of college following getting my high school diploma, except it's not technically my diploma because I haven't actually left the school system yet. But, and so hopefully I'll be getting a lot of college credits done, and mostly I just want to pursue like various careers, basically earn up some money to maybe, I don't know what for, but money is important. So just earn money for something that I'm gonna wanna do in the future, like a down payment on a house, or maybe like moving to a different country or something like that. And I also want to be doing that college work, and I really wanna focus on a lot of like areas of intellectual passions that I have, such as like psychology, neurology, computer science, engineering, particularly aerospace engineering. And I basically just want to move forward with that and pursue that a little bit more and get to know such subjects in a more professional setting than just basic research that I've been doing on my own spare time.
You talked about overcoming a lot of adversities. Do you use music at all to help you with some things if it's a hard time or something, and if so, how?
Yeah, so playing music is actually like one of the smaller musical outlets I have. I do really enjoy performing, but that's not really where a lot of my focus lies. I mostly just kind of listen to music. Like I get into like some sort of exercise where I just go on incredibly long walks while listening to music, and I kind of think through a lot of emotions and everything that's been going on. And like there's been times where I leave the house and I'm like on a 3-hour walk just around my neighborhood for like 3 hours at a time, where I'm just listening to music and completely in my own world and then processing through everything. And so music has helped me substantially in my life, like not just from performing, but also just having it there.
Do you have a favorite like artist or genre or something where specifically in a time where you're like, okay, I've got some real stuff to process here, like what's your go-to playlist or whatever?
So I actually have just one huge playlist that's just like a conglomeration of everything I like. But when I'm having a particularly rough time of things, I'll generally listen to either it's like almost like EDM-esque sort of stuff, or it's like moody emo, or it's like random indie, or it's like hard rock surreal, depending on the emotion that I'm trying to get through.
Okay.
And you're a very accomplished writer.
I hope to someday write a novel.
Yeah, which you kind of started, right? A little
Yes,
bit?
yes.
Yeah. Now, does that ever get parlayed into lyrics?
I am very bad at songwriting. I've come up with like a couple like small little like ditties in my head, but nothing ever good enough to ever become a song. I also just don't even know where I would begin. I've tried to like look online for like, how do you songwrite? And then it just kind of doesn't work. It's like, write a poem and then sing it. And I'm like, okay. So.
What about your book?
What?
What about your book?
Oh, I have so many ideas. Like I was gonna write this one idea that I had, and it actually came from a dream that I had. And then like a month later, after I was stewing about it, I go look and like, wow, there's already a movie about that starring Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm not gonna try to write that actually.
It was about a great big boat.
It was like, asteroids are falling from the sky and everything's going to be destroyed in a little bit. Let's see how society reacts when imminent death is upon them. And I was like, that'd make a good book. And then suddenly it's a giant movie called Don't Look Up or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you recall that one, I had that in a dream like a month before it was released, and I was going to write it, but then it was already taken by the time I actually got around to it.
Damn.
Intellectual property.
I did an
attorney on that. Isabel, as you look back over the last few years of your time at Polaris, what has been one of your greatest academic achievements?
So, I'm sure a lot of other people have already talked about this a lot, but like the U.S. History Project, that was like a semester-long thing where I had to like research one very particular time in history, in American history, and describe every little bit of it with both a podcast, an essay, like a big collection of data and graphs and all of that, as well as an annotated bibliography. And and so it was really a lot. Like the first semester was just sheer research, or sorry, first quarter was just research. And a lot of it, like every week it'd be like, okay, find another 3 sources about your subject, get it done, and write about it and analyze it. And it was really nice, but it was also really rough. It was a lot of work, but it felt good and important because I was actually researching WASP, which is basically a group of female Air Force pilots that were helped in World War II, I believe. And it's been a year or two. I'm a little rusty on the details, but and so like that was like a huge area of passion, especially like empowered women during that time period. And like I looked at other resources, like how are people discussing women outside of this? And it's like, these people are doing amazing, they're volunteering and everything. And so like a big group of tourists, students, and women all went to help with that. And it's, and so I got to really see how women have been viewed over the years, as well as what they have been able to accomplish despite not being quite considered right for the job. Basically taking the place of working men because they went off to fight, and it was just this big deal. And I'd say I did absolutely everything like to a T, and basically I'd say that's one of my most impressive academic accomplishments because of just how much time and effort it took. As well as the actual subject matter actually relating to things that I really cared about in my day-to-day life.
I'm sorry, I'm fucking covering up. But what did you learn about yourself or about our society today by researching the past?
Well, I learned that society is always very, very, makes a lot of excuses for, like, if they don't want something, they're gonna make endless excuses. It's like, well, World War II's over, well, women can't work anymore because, well, the men need their jobs back. And it's like, okay. Well, they're doing a better job than the men did. Like, aren't they, like, shouldn't they be, like, they're qualified and they're really good at what they do. Like, can't you just let them keep flying planes? Can't you combine the workforces? It's like, nope, the men need their jobs, goodbye. And honestly, society will just make so many excuses because they don't want something for some weird moral internal reason that's just, at the end of the day, is really kind of screwed. And so that's just society as a whole, and I'd say, like learning about myself, I got almost disproportionately upset at like whenever an area of something that I read was particularly sexist or anything. I'd be like, wow, I'm actually really upset that this was considered appropriate at any period of time. And so I guess like through that, I just kind of learned that I am not, in fact, easy to push around, which was a great relief because I was actually very worried that I am easily pushed around. But if you get furious at like people who've been dead for 50 years, or something is said, like you might not be.
Awesome. I got my master's degree in American history, and I just think that the sort of issues that you're wrestling with and the way that you're thinking about the past and its connection to us today is like you're doing the work of a historian. And like that's really valuable work. It's often overlooked. So.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
That sounds like you recognizing issues of justice in a sense. Do you see that as the type of motivating interest that might carry you forward into some particular line of work or hobby or something else?
I really hope so, because I've been doing like a lot of activist work like in my past when I was part of the Colorado Coalition. that was actually really focused on environmental stability, kind of putting together like ocean ecosystems, because the whole point was to be able to clean and care for coral nurseries and to learn firsthand why climate change is so very bad in like even just one little ecosystem. Like it's devastated the coral reefs, and like in that period of time I went to a lot of like environmental marches and really tried to push myself into that kind of community. Over COVID, there were a lot of like BLM protests and such like that, and I begged my parents to go, but you know, it was COVID, people were being like killed in the streets for protesting, and ultimately it was a no-go. But like, I'm always doing like this one thing, and then something else happens, I'm like, actually, I'm just gonna devote like a month to this thing right here, I can get back to this other stuff later, let's focus on this first. So I'd say that definitely, like, in my future, whether or not it will be my intention, I will be deeply involved in some sort of activism, or many types of activism. I'm just not sure quite what yet. Sorry.
While we're in this awkward moment, I'm going to buy a little time for folks to come up with the next question. And I just want to point out that you came in here and you're like, I'm so nervous, I'm going to puke. And you're providing like really excellent answers to the question. And so just make a mental note for yourself to like tonight, go back and like play this through your head and realize like, you won't have to play it through your head. Thank you. That you're totally capable and like beyond capable, and that you're amazing. And to recognize and celebrate that within yourself is what we're trying to do.
Thank you.
I think to go off of that, so, I mean, through all of these experiences with, you know, your coalition, and you were part of the Young Women in Leadership Conference, and all these different things, and you chose to come over to Futures Lab for part of your high school career.
Yes.
So through those experiences, through Polaris, through Futures Lab, what are some of the things that stand out to you as Izzy as a learner? Like who are you as a learner? What have you learned that you need in that sense of like knowing who I am as a learner and what I need to be successful?
I guess I really need my learning to really matter in a tangible way. Like if it's something I'm like deeply inherently passionate about, then it's a little easier than this is something that I have no interest in and probably never have had any interest in. And so I really kind of have to kind of alter things to my own perception in such a way that it does matter. For example, the US History Project, history in general, has never really been my strong suit. It's just kind of a bunch of dates and events, and it's just like, okay, I see how it's important, but at the same time, it's not gonna be something I spend a lot of time doing beyond just a basic understanding of what has happened in the past. And so I took that project, and I'm like, okay, I really like women being powerful, and I also really like planes. Let's do women in planes. That's good. And so through that, I kind of try to force my way into kind of making it relate to me. But in terms of just more general learning styles, I'd say that like in aviation, I'm actually like building a plane out of foam board that's like this big, and it's actually gonna fly. And it's terrifying because, you know, it might shatter into a million little pieces when you fly it, but it's still nice. And I'm working with some amazing people, and it's just so much fun to be like, wow, I'm gonna create something really cool. And like, so being able to like hands-on create something is also super important to me. And like creating something that I can just move forward on and kind of look back on and be like, oh yeah, I remember doing that, that was cool. I wonder if I can do something like that again, that's even cooler.
What advice do you have for the adults in your life? I imagine you got some pretty good advice.
Include us in that, please.
Yeah.
I need,
Yeah, we can.
I need some.
I guess, This one's a little tougher because like I kind of have it in my head that like, oh, like it's never gonna quite, like I am at a level where it's not quite possible for me to quite understand the adults in my life. Like I don't quite understand their motivations and such like that, and so it's sometimes a little bit difficult for me to kind of find specific pieces of advice for what I would say. But like honestly, I'd say that like respect and trust is foremost. Like even when said other person, such as myself, is younger or maybe not as skilled in things or like not like a lot less experienced and very new to the world, I guess despite that, like have some grace for the fact that I have no clue what I'm doing and it might seem like I have it all together, but I in no way have it all together and I am sorry for that. But even so, I am trying my best and I'm sorry if it isn't good enough for you, but like it's what I got.
So how do we ascertain that? Do we just ask more questions?
I guess have trust and faith in me as a human being that like, despite what goes wrong, I will eventually have it together. And in general, like when you look upon people who are younger than you, even though it may not look like they, like, even though it may look as though they should have it together, or that they do have it together, and then you're like, okay, well, then what about this other thing? It's like, they don't have it together the slightest. And so just grace and empathy and kindness and try not to get frustrated too much when people are struggling, and I guess treat everybody with kindness and respect, even if they seem like a small little idiot to you.
Wise
Excellent
words.
advice.
That's great.
Because they probably actually aren't, and no need to be rude.
Thanks.
How do you like to work? Because you talk about, like, you do a lot of these things like the airplane project you're talking about, where you're working collaboratively with people. And then you also talk about you are really introspective, so you go out on these long walks and you think about these like really adult big concepts, right? So how do you balance that with, as like a learner? Like, do you like to collaborate but need like your own time, or like what does that look like for you?
So when I was in like 6th grade, we were doing like some weird project for like to create a podcast, and basically I took that as like, okay, I'm going to write an essay about this and then read it out loud. And it was technically supposed to be between 2 or 3 people, like partners or like triads or whatever. And I was like, hey, can I do this on my own? And they said, sure. And I ended up making, it was supposed to be like a 5-minute long podcast. Mine ended up being 11 minutes. And because again, I just wrote an essay and then read it out loud.
You notice the number of pages in your portfolio.
Yes, every single one of those pages has a fairly long paragraph.
And links and hyperlinks. Yes.
Pictures and
Yeah,
Great.
you know that you've looked at.
yes, it's great.
Yeah, obviously I still do the same thing. I'm a little more relaxed about it, as in it's not walls of text, but it's still obviously very long. And so I guess basically all that to say that from like the very beginning, I have been very independent in my work and preferring to work alone. Oftentimes I have found that when I'm working on projects, other people have a tendency to hold back my work instead of elevating it, because I do have inherently very high standards in everything that I do. And while I can hold myself to such standards, it's very much not fair for me to hold other people to such standards, because, well, they're my standards, for me, not for anyone else. And so because of that, I would often just get like very internally frustrated whenever something just like didn't look quite right or whatever like this. And then because of my high standards, I would always go back and rewrite things or re-modify things and make it all better. And meanwhile, I would end up that I'm doing like 80% of the project while also handling the other members. And then that would just get very frustrating because I did the vast majority of the project plus extra work of trying to manage keeping the other people happy while I'm trying to silently fix everything to my standard. However, such as building the plane, as I mentioned, I have I have partners on that. Like I'm doing that with other people. And so I found that if I can kind of locate the people who have similarly high standards, we can work together to achieve the high standards correctly in the way that I don't have to redo things. And so like for that, I'm like in the current like aviation project that I'm working on, which is kind of really occupying all of my brain right now. I'm working with the person who hardcore robotics league championship dude, as well as like the person who's constantly just very working hard and achieving as much as they possibly can in this class. And through that, we are making like the plane that we're designing is the type where the propellers actually move at an angle where it flies up like a drone, and then like it flies up like a drone, like it can act a little bit like a drone, but then like the propellers tilt downwards and then it flies like a plane. And that is what we're designing, and it's terrifying, but it's actually working. We're very close to being done with it.
Wow.
And that is what you accomplish if you try to stay with people who have your similarly high expectations. And it's difficult to find those people, but ultimately I do think it's worth it because it's so much better than anything I could have accomplished on my own.
And that's beautifully said. I'm glad that you learned that. That's a big lesson to learn, to go, I'm not gonna lower my standards. I'm gonna find
Right.
other people
Right.
with those standards and we
Yes.
together.
Yes, exactly.
That's beautiful. Don't ever lose that.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but we are almost out of time, and I wanna honor your, instrument that you brought.
Oh yeah.
What are you going to do first? I'm gonna turn off my volume on my computer so it doesn't keep pinging. Tell us about what we are about to experience.
Okay, so I wouldn't say it's that dramatic. Basically, I learned ukulele in like 8th grade or so. I've been basically singing all my life, but I really got into ukulele because, I was in music class and the teacher's like, you have to learn 2 instruments. One of them can be vocals, but you gotta learn 2 instruments of any type. And I chose, okay, the ukulele has the fewest number of strings, I'll do that.
So you're willing to lower your standards?
I thought I wasn't going to continue on with it. I didn't think I enjoyed actually playing music. Now that I do, I have like moved on to trying the bass. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
very nice.
beautiful.
Yeah, my father got it for me like
Nice.
over COVID era. It's so nice. I like it.
What song do you play?
So I'm going to be playing Oh Miss Believer by 21 Pilots. As I said, I don't really particularly have many songs of my own, but other songs are
Do
still
you mind
nice.
if I video you?
Go ahead. Yeah. Also, my father is also videotaping it, so
He is your father.
Yeah.
This will be all over social media later. No, I'm just kidding.
oh, Miss Believer, my I'm so sorry.
No, do not
You're doing
apologize.
great.
None of us can do this.
Your twisted mind's like snow. So on the road, your shaking shoulders prove that it's cold.
saying the last few words about you since you're in my crew. And I just wanted to tell you that I have loved seeing you over the last 4 years. Just, I don't really know how to say it. I guess come into your power. Because I feel like even though you don't necessarily give yourself as much credit as you deserve, because you were so strong in every academic area, but also artistically and just philosophically and in every area that I can think of. It's just been such a joy watching you grow and mature. I've appreciated you've helped out so much in crew too, like organizing and making charms for everybody, and you're just so supportive, and I really appreciate that support over the 4 years. So thank you. You're done. Look, you didn't die. Congratulations. My pleasure.
Yuppie.
Congrats, guys.
You're just gonna keep rolling it for the hugs, aren't you?
Yeah.
Congratulations, man. It's been a pleasure. It really has. It's been fun, the rafting, everything.
Thank you so much for everything.
Yeah. Let's sell yourself short.
Yeah, knock that off.
Yeah.
Congrats,
Good seeing you again. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything.
Oh, yeah. My pleasure.
There's so many things, and you're gonna take those things forward.
It was great. It was
Cool.
She was so excited about all the
As a
things she
mentor,
got back.